Good morning, grade one. How are you today? I wish that you are all fine. Today we will start with chapter 2, lesson 4. It's about how can we group plants. Remember when we spoke last session about how do plants grow and change, and how can we grow a plant by putting the seed in the soil and to start to give this seed enough light, water, and of course it takes nutrients from the soil and air. And after this, we watched the steps of how do plants grow. First, we have roots. After a while, we have stem. After a while, we have leaves, a flower. And by the end, we will have fruit. And remember, roots holds a plant in the soil. Roots holds a plant in the soil. Stem holds up the plant. Stem holds up the plant. Stem holds up the plant. Leaves make food. Flower makes fruit. Fruit holds seed. You remember our song? I wish that you remember it very well because it will help you a lot, especially when you are doing any sheet or when you are doing your quizzes or your term exams. It will help you a lot. Today, as I said, we will start with lesson 4 in chapter 2. It's about how can we group plants. Like when I'm asking you, how can I group my students in grade 1? You will tell me that we can divide them into 2 groups, boys and girls, right? Because we will do the same here with plants. How can we group plants? Can you guess how can we group plants? First thing that, or the first step, if you want to group a plant or to want to group plants together, you should look at their parts. Because some plants are similar in their parts and some plants, they are very different. So we will put the ones that are similar together, the ones that are different together, and each group of a plant has specific name. So now let's look at the first part of the plant of the grasses. The grasses is, or it's one of the kind of the plant, and they have long, thin leaves. So grasses, we know them. We see them everywhere. How do we know them? Because they have long, thin leaves. So the first thing, if you want to group plants, you have to look at their parts. First, we have grasses. Grasses have long, thin leaves. Grasses have long, thin leaves. So if you have long, thin leaves, you should put them in the group of grasses. So grasses have long, thin leaves. Okay, grasses have long, thin leaves. And they also have very small flowers, but they have long, thin leaves in common. Let's look here at the trees. We have 2 types of the trees, and I think that you call them a tree when you see them. Oh, this is a tree. Oh, this is a tree. Yes, but they are different. We have trees and shrubs. Trees and shrubs, they are trees. But I cannot call the tree as a shrub and I cannot call the shrub as a tree. You know them as a tree because you didn't study the difference between them before. But now we are grouping them. So I should put the shrubs together and the trees together. You know that all the trees have woody stems. We call it trunk, if you remember it from the last lesson, because the tree has a big stem and it is woody because we get wood from it to make tables, to make chairs, to make pencils, to make doors. So we have woody, or the trees have woody stems. But today we will divide the trees into 2 groups. We have shrubs and we have trees. Shrubs and trees, they have woody stems. But if you look at the shrub and you look here at the tree, you will find that the shrubs have many smaller stems. Shrubs have many smaller stems. Many stems, they are beside each other. And if you look at the tree, you will find that the tree has one big stem. So this is called a tree, and the previous one is called a shrub. Why do you call it a shrub, Miss Angie? It is a tree. Yes, I know it is a tree, but it has many smaller stems. So if you see a tree that has many smaller stems, we call it shrubs. And if we see a tree that has one big stem, yes, that's right, we call it a tree. So shrub, many smaller stems. Shrub has many smaller stems. Trees have one big stem. Grass have long, thin leaves. Grass has long, thin leaves. Grass has long, thin leaves. Shrub has many smaller stems. Shrub has many smaller stems. Tree has one big stem. Tree has one big stem. So this is the first thing of how can I group plants. I should look at their parts. If I see the plant that has long, thin leaves, I should call it grass. If I see a tree that has many smaller stems, we call it shrub. If I see a tree that has one big stem, yes, you're right, it's called a tree. This is the first thing, that I looked at the parts of the plant. Another way of grouping plants is that you can group them according to the plants that you can eat. According to the plants that you can eat. Plants that we can eat, we call them edible. Repeat after me, edible. Edible means eatable. What is the meaning of edible or eatable, Miss Angie? They are called edible plants. The edible plants, they are the plants that you can eat, or they are safe to eat. The edible plants safe to eat. For example, carrots, tomatoes, onions, strawberries. There are many examples of plants that we can eat, and we call them edible. Repeat after me. Edible plants safe to eat. Edible plants safe to eat. Edible plants safe to eat. Edible, safe to eat. Edible, safe to eat. Edible, safe to eat. What about the non-edible plants? They are not safe to eat because if you eat them, you will be sick because they are poisonous. So we cannot eat them, okay? Because we have like one of the plants, it is a lily of the valley flower. Lily of the valley flower. I will show you its photo here. This is a lily of the valley flower. This plant is a non-edible plant, or this flower is a non-edible because if you eat it, okay, you may be very sick because these plants are poisonous and would make you very sick, okay? So as we said, and there are many plants that are non-edible, we cannot eat them, okay? So we said there are plants that are edible because they are safe to eat, as we said, carrots, cucumbers, onions, tomatoes, strawberries, and also we have non-edible plants. Why are they called non-edible? Because they are not safe to eat. Edible, safe to eat. Edible, safe to eat. Non-edible, not safe to eat. Non-edible means not safe to eat. You cannot eat them because they are poisonous. Let's recap what we have studied. We spoke about how can we group plants. First, we can look at their parts. If they have long, thin leaves, they are grasses. If they have many smaller stems, they are shrubs. If they have one big stem, they are called trees. We can group them according to edible, or the plants that we can eat, edible and non-edible. The edible plants safe to eat, like carrots, tomatoes, onions, strawberries. The non-edible plants, they are not safe to eat because these plants are poisonous and we cannot eat them. And remember, there are many ways that we are using plants. You can make group of plants that people use to make things, like people use cotton to make clothing and trees to make houses and toys. We are using the plants to eat, so we get wood from the trees to make tables, chairs, and we said in the social session before, so we can use plants in different ways. I wish that you understood our lesson for today. Thanks for listening and watching, and see you later. Bye, grade 1.